All right. Good morning, everyone. Great to see you all again. Okay. We'll just wait one more moment for everyone else to join. Okay. All right. So hi, everyone. Really quickly, I'm going to send over a attendance form for this lecture. Right now, for the reason we're doing this so we can make project teams for everyone so that we can get all your teams sorted by the end of the class today. So by the end of class, we will have all of you will know who's on your project team, and you'll have their emails so that you can reach out and get in touch with them. So I'm sending this in the general channel on Telegram. So if you wouldn't mind taking, it's 4 questions, wouldn't mind taking just 30 seconds to a minute to fill us out right here, that'd be great. And then we will get started right after. All right, it looks like we have around 30 responses, but for anyone that just joined, please take a minute to fill out the form that I sent in the general Telegram group. This is just the attendance for this lecture. I also saw a question in chat that said, was there attendance for the first lecture? So we're starting attendance now, and this is just for anyone who is interested in the certificate to receive so that we can form project groups. Because we had a lot of people in the first lecture who may not be coming to every lecture. So this one will be so we can create your project groups. So this will be the attendance form for that will determine groups. And then for name, it can be first name or last name. Either way works for name. All right, well, so we have about 40 responses. So once again, everyone can please take a moment to do that throughout the lecture so that we can form project groups. But other than that, I will pass it off to Mo, who will start today's lecture.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. It's around like 7 a.m. In Pacific time for us. Not sure if it's actually morning for you guys, but yeah, today's lecture, we are gonna dive deep into the inner workings of the music industry, explore the history of the first recorded mediums in music up to the medium that we're at now, how it affected the music industry and business model of music, and basically the potential of this of blockchain technology and music. So let's just get right into it. Cool. So yeah, table of contents. We're gonna be first discussing the history of music videos, like I said, then going into payola, also talking about streaming, then Web3 music, and leave some time for a Q&A. Cool. So yeah, just to start, I wanted to revisit this slide. Basically just want to talk about my background in Web3 and music. Basically around 1.5 years ago in August of 2021, I got this idea to start a company in Web3 and music. And basically the reason I got that idea was a year prior to that, I took a trip to LA when I was managing my friend who happened to be an artist, and we ended up visiting these crazy guys, crazy like producer house. Some of the producers there have produced for like some of the artists that we listen to, like Juice World, Kid Laroi, Arizona Zervaz, like all these guys. And yeah, pretty much their manager was showing us around, and he started blabbering about the music industry and how it works, the business model, all of that, how the standard deal was 80-20 for an artist, and how artists are basically getting screwed over for these deals that really don't make sense for them. And yeah, I was just shocked to find out that like basically the way you put your music on Spotify or these streaming services isn't just, oh, like you just click upload and then upload your music, but instead it's more of this like very convoluted process with a ton of intermediaries, like distributors, performance royalty organizations, publishing companies, mechanical rights organizations, maybe some right holders you have at play, et cetera. And so yeah, pretty much a year later, I also ended up going down the blockchain rabbit hole at blockchain at Berkeley. And I realized that, wait, like a lot of the problems that happen to do with music is basically a convoluted process with a lot of intermediaries between the artist and fan, right? And that's a problem that blockchain can solve, is exchanging value between peer-to-peer with no intermediaries. And then the second thing is also a problem of tracking IP and ownership and managing those rights, which is another problem blockchain can solve, as it's the first way we can own something digitally. And so I ended up being really curious about the potential of blockchain in Web3. And ended up spending around 1.5 years founding a company called Music with 2Us.xyz. We were accepted to the Berkeley Blockchain Accelerator, and also received grants from BitDAO to work on the project. And then around like I think like a year into the project, we ended up joining forces with Catalog Records, which I worked there as a core engineer. And and just recently in January, I decided to come back to school and explore other opportunities. And now I'm here teaching this class. So yeah, cool. So here we go. Let's revisit the evolution of recorded music from Edison records to literally CDs and streaming. So yeah, just an intro. Pretty much, as we all know, music has been a part of human culture for thousands of years, even before the invention of recording technology. You know, people were experiencing music, and the only way to really do it was live. The other way to share music was written, like sheet music. And yeah, pretty much only up into like the late 19th century was when the first mediums for recorded music were even introduced, where you can play back a performance of an artist without actually having the artist there, right? So these mediums changed the way we experience music and had a huge impact on basically literally birthing the music industry and making it possible to you know, duplicate and multiply the value that you shared in a performance in this like packaged, like productized type of way. So yeah, basically this is the first song, the earliest fragment of musical notation was found on a 4,000-year-old Sumerian clay tablet. I'm sure music is way older than that, but this is the first time we actually found something that like written sheet music. And so yeah, it basically just had some instructions for tuning. And yeah, this song was like a hymn, and it just honored the ruler at the time. So yeah. Next, and this is crazy, right? Like so recent, just basically when you put it in perspective, was the first medium of recorded music was this Edison record. And it was invented by Thomas Edison in 1877. On the right here, you can see it's a cylinder shaped disc. It was made of tin foil to record and play back sound. And how it worked was it basically had a two diaphragm and needle units, and one of them was for recording and the other was for playback. And basically you would speak into this like mouthpiece, and the sound vibrations would be indented into the tinfoil cylinder. And then yeah, and then you would use like a playback device that would basically take those indents and convert them into sound. So important to note, time is like time limits are going to be like a pretty big limitation of all these recorded mediums. So at this for this medium, you were only able to record about a few minutes of sound, and it was about 2 minutes. The other thing is how cheap and accessible a medium was at the time also really affected like the business model and distribution. The Edison record was very expensive and basically was only accessible to like wealthy individuals who were already affording like private performances and live performances and everything. And so yeah, the next thing came out was the gramophone record. It was invented by Emily Berliner in 1887. It used a flat disc made out of shellac to record and play back sound. And you can see on the right, it looks very much like a you know, the very early version of a record player. So these were a lot cheaper and more durable than Edison records. It made recorded music a little bit more popular and accessible to people who weren't as wealthy. Still pretty like expensive, and yeah, like you it's not like something, it's not like a need per se, it's still a luxury. So yeah, this can record double the amount, up to 4 minutes of sound at a time, and it became the dominant medium for recording music in the early 20th century. Like pretty much a lot later was invented in the late 19th century was radio, which is basically, it's not really a physical medium, but it uses electromagnetic waves transmitting sound through the air, obviously. And yeah, this was really kind of what made these live performances in the comfort of wherever you are and have a radio like accessible. And this is what like really broadcasted music to the world at basically more like more time in the throughout the day than we ever had before, right? It made music as easy to flow as like basically water, right? Everyone, it created this network of music listeners. And so yeah, this was the most popular form of entertainment in the 1920s and 1930s. And like this is the reason a lot of different genres became popular, such as jazz, rock and roll, and other genres of music. Today, radio still exists, obviously, even with streaming and everything. And it's still a popular medium for people to like discover music. And yeah, there's even some mobile apps that solely focus on radio. So is next is vinyl records. So this is what started it all, basically. Well, I would say radio basically started it all in the shenanigans of the music industry, but vinyl records were a huge part of this. So they're invented in the 1940s. This picture on the right is literally the first vinyl record as a product from Columbia, which we know is a pretty huge record label today. And basically how these were made is instead of shellac, they use a cheaper material, vinyl, that was also a little bit more durable, I would believe. And basically you could record up to 22 minutes of music per side. And so now you have like literally these mediums of music are changing the types of songs that are being recorded, right? Like before it's like, hey, I'm gonna put a song up to 4 minutes on this like gramophone record, or 2 minutes on this like Edison record, or I'm gonna try to get on the DJ's like playlists for his set. Now it's like, hey, let's spend $2 million. Let's create a super high production, like full-fledged 44-minute album. And artists just like have historically played with these limitations creatively. Yeah, they've basically, a lot of artists will like try to fill up like whatever the medium is that they're using, right? And so we started hearing like literally records that that were a lot like higher of a lot higher production quality, which is really cool, right? And longer. And so people's attention spans are a little bit longer. And so yeah, this became the standard medium for recorded music in 1950s and 60s, which is like actually ridiculously so close to where we are now. It's like, it's so funny. It feels like such an ancient medium. Yeah. So yeah, next was cassettes. They also came out pretty close to vinyls in 1962. This just is using a very interesting time of the world, where people are carrying boxes of cassettes into their car and putting it into their car radio while trying to drive, and flipping the side of the cassette. Like very interesting, honestly. And so yeah, basically this uses a magnetic tape to record and play back sound. Obviously they're a little smaller, more portable than vinyl records, which is why you can take them to your car. Like a huge important factor or property of a great music medium is its mobility, right? It's like when I stream on Spotify, I can play music wherever I am, in the gym, in the car, like walking, wherever. And this is important, right? Because even for cassettes, like, did I write a slide on the Walkman? No, I didn't. But even for cassettes, when the Walkman came out, it took this package for music, and it made it a lot more portable, right? And it really changed volume in the industry, like access to music, all these different things. So yeah, the other thing is also easier recording, right? It's a lot harder to put a record press in your house than it was to like get maybe a slightly more expensive machine and start recording on like this magnetic tape cassette type of thing. And so basically this became the dominant medium of music, or at least portable music, in the 1970s and 80s. So the next medium, invented in 1982, which is the medium that a lot of people say is the golden era of recorded music, used digital technology to record and playback sound. It was the CD, or compact disc. And pretty much now we're going up from 44 minutes of total sound to up to 80 minutes of sound. And so, you know, a lot of the records that are classic that a lot of musicians basically refer back to even when they're learning about music in music school, and try to that basically look up to, were created at this time, right? And on CDs. And the first CD was created by Sony, which is another massive record label now, one of the big three. And yeah, CDs were basically best of both worlds, like the best of a vinyl record and best of a cassette tape, right? It's like they're small, they're more durable, they're pretty cheap to produce, easy to record on. And so yeah, this became quickly took over and became the dominant medium for recorded music. And we'll look over to how each one of these mediums kind of shifted the actual business, or like the industry, in a slide later. And so from CDs, a lot of other stuff happened, which we'll go over. But basically, we ended up at streaming, right? Which was a kind of a reaction to a problem that came about with Napster, Pirates Bay, all of that. And I don't know why I put, and this is a typo. Yeah, so basically Spotify like came out in like 2007, 2008. And so yeah, this basically leveraged this new technology, which was the internet, to deliver music and other types of media to listeners in real time, on demand. It's like you don't wait for the DJ to play the song you want. You don't wait till the CD that you want to play is not sold out and is available at your store or Blockbuster or whatever. You just search for a song you want and you play it. So yeah, as you might know, this one democratized discovery of music initially, before all the shenanigans, and two, became like the most accessible, or like widely accessible medium of music in the world, with Spotify amassing like around 300 million daily active users today. And yeah, so this is the most dominant medium for music consumption in the 21st century. This is where we're at now. So yeah, this has had an insane impact on the music industry. And yeah, many artists basically release music exclusively on streaming. Like physical mediums are more seen as like merchandise, or like a special treat that you can give your fans, or super fans. So yeah, this has changed the way music is discovered, especially with AI algorithms and playlists driving much of the industry's recommendation curation, instead of like classically like radio DJs, or even stores and placement of your like physical like sets, vinyls, whatever, in like a Blockbuster. Like I even remember when we were working with one of the artists, like James Bourne, he was saying how like basically he was like basically your last name or something like actually played like such a big factor like whether your music can get discovered or seen, right? Because it was like earlier on in the list that people would like scan through at stores. So cool. Yeah, basically these first mediums made music more accessible, especially without having to attend live performances. And these, again, like we basically take something of value, right, which is the live performance, and instead of having to have literally every single person who wants to watch this or capture that value, like they're in person at that time, in that moment, right? We invent something to basically package it and say, hey, now I can multiply this like valuable moment to like all these different people, basically anywhere in the world, made it so artists can see a lot more growth and can impact a lot more people. So yeah, this is all like pretty repetitive, so I'm not gonna go through it, but here's a nice poster. I honestly would love to get this poster and like put it up in my room or something. But yeah, it's basically just takes you through all these times, and from 1877, which we talked about, all the way to Columbia Records producing the first LP, then you all the way through to Sony Walkman making music more portable, the disc by Sony again. Then actually like a big thing too, which sort of like started music piracy in a way, was the CDR, which is like a recordable CD, right? Like the compact disc wasn't recordable. Like you just buy it and you can play it. But the CDR was like, hey, now you can burn like any song you want on the CD. So people, as you know, went crazy with duplicating these files and trying to get access for music like they always do. Yeah, and so anyways, MP3 as a file format was also released. This is like the in-between that I was talking about right here on this curve. Yeah, basically in the initial birth kind of like of the internet and the internet popping off, Pirate Bay was one of the most popular websites like ever, and people wanted to pirate music. Like people want free music, right? Because it's like it's this thing that has ultimately throughout all these mediums, right, tried to be capitalized on and had a kind of higher like barrier to entry or some sort of friction in terms of like, yo, like I don't have the luxury of buying like an entire library of CDs or an entire library of MP3s. So it's like I still am gonna want to listen to music, right? So I'm gonna pirate it. And so it's like, even though a lot of these laws came out, and with Napster making it even more accessible than Pirate Bay to like pirate music, it's like people don't really see stealing music or like listening to free music as a crime, right? Even when governments try to make it look seem like a crime. And yeah, so I would say the reaction to Napster was Steve Jobs coming out with the iPod and iTunes software, right, on your computer, and being like, hey, like screw all of this. Let's just make every song like 99 cents, 129, right? Every album the same price. Let's have people play it on this sexy device that you can take anywhere, make it super convenient. And yeah, maybe artists will actually get paid. But artists never actually got paid. Like actually the funny part in all these mediums, which like we'll go over how the music industry worked, was like artists always got screwed by whoever monopolized and owned the medium, right? So basically like throughout all these mediums, it's like everyone else in the industry like gets paid first, basically almost like 85 to 90% of like the revenue, and then artists at the end of the day only stick with like 10%, 10 to 15%, my bad. So yeah, let's also look at this other chart, which is super interesting. Basically this takes you through a inflation adjusted chart since 1977 of each medium and its volume and contribution to the total revenue in the music industry. So super interesting. We have vinyls initially looking pretty up in 1977, kind of having a slight decline, and then cassettes coming out again, making music more mobile. Like to play a vinyl, it's pretty expensive, honestly, right? To get a good sound. It's like, hey, I'm gonna have to buy a record player, and then I'm gonna have to buy a preamp that drives these speakers, which might need some audio clock, and like, oh, now I like yeah, now I have to like upgrade my needle because my needle is just, I don't know, getting worn out or something. It's like it's a very expensive process, and it's like not very accessible to a lot of people, and it's not very convenient either, right? So cassettes come out, a lot more people get interested in this whole thing. They're like, dude, this is sick. I can play music whenever I want, wherever I want. And it's durable and yeah, very like way easier to use. So we saw the peak of the recorded music industry at 21.5 billion in around 1999. So I don't know if you guys remember this, but Napster also came out in 1999. And as soon as this came out, basically you had all these people be like, why the hell would I ever buy music again? Right? Why would I go to the store, like collect all of this product, all of these cassettes, whatever, CDs that are gonna sit around, right? That have potential of breaking, basically that are harder to search through, when I can go on Napster and I can go on the front page and I can just click on whatever song I want or search for it, right? And hopefully someone in this network has already uploaded it. And so a lot of people were just like, screw this. Actually, Napster gained, I think, 26 million daily active users, like within the first year it came out. Like the demand for free music is just like insane, right? So that kind of drove this huge, like mountainous, like decline in the music industry. Like this looks like a ski slope, like an incredible ski slope that I would love to ski down. Like, you know, yeah, basically, it's just important to note that like CDs and cassettes, that was like the best we've ever done in the music industry. They had their flaws and everything, but truly, even today, after Napster came out, we were trying to react to that, and then it was like iTunes and all these other different types of things. But then it was like, Daniel Ek comes out and he's like, hey guys, like the reason people like Napster is because it's easily accessible, right? It's like every song essentially in the world at your fingertips. Let's make a better user experience, right? Let's make faster load times, whatever. And basically like with this better user experience, and even I've like literally playlists like will offer like ad driven music, which is a better model, to like actually get paid for music, but then also like a premium model. And so yeah, even yeah, even with this in mind, pretty much yeah, it still didn't do as well. So yeah, conclusion, why are we even talking about this? Why are we talking about mediums when this is like you know, when are we going to get into Web3? The whole point is that like throughout all of these years, there's been changes in medium very rapidly, and technology has really changed the way we interact with music. The whole point of this is streaming came out in 2008. It's 2023 now, right? Artists have been complaining for years about getting paid, not getting paid. And essentially songs are getting shorter and shorter, trying to appeal to AI algorithms. With actually, you only get paid for the first 29 seconds in like a stream. And so that's why songs are getting shorter. There's like no incentive to not make them shorter. And so it's like, basically, what's next? What is the next medium, right? And that's what this entire ethos of like Web3 and music is trying to discover. What is the next medium? How do we do this right? How can we go from this like basically insanely dead industry to a thriving industry again. So yeah. Next is Payola.
Actually, could I just interrupt, Mo? Is it possible to jump to the Web3 stuff now?
Yeah. Let's see.
Because I want to make sure. I mean, the history part is really interesting, and you've outlined a lot of the injustices. But I was wondering if it's possible to move to keep going.
Well, so I was thinking too, we could also take a moment right now, and I could walk through this right now, just to give an example of, I mean, like NFTs, just for everyone who may not have experience with them, just to talk through, well, one, what is an NFT? How do you access it through a wallet? So on and so forth. And so I was thinking we could take some time there to dive into, I mean, how that looks in practice. So you
Yeah.
can give a quick demo.
Yeah, sorry. I think the original plan was like basically dive deep into the music industry and then explore like all the problems we have. And then I was gonna spend like basically the next lecture talking about solutions to these problems. And yeah. But
I mean, to be honest, I mean, we could even turn this into like a question and answer session. So let me start with let's imagine that I'm an absolute beginner, and I was interested in actually publishing my music in a Web3 environment. What would be the best place to start?
Publishing music in Web3 environment. I would say I think the best place to start is because all Web3 music projects are like in their early like days and everything is constantly changing. It's really up to you as an artist and basically choosing what you want to start with first and like what medium works best for your fan base. So I guess we'll do this a little bit more freeform. But basically some places to start. Let me see if I can pull up a chart. I remember he made a pretty nice chart. All right, so here's like a lot of the Web3 music projects. As you can see, it's like literally an entire wall. Where I would start is probably understanding what the hell is going on here. And basically it's all starts at like one-of-one music NFTs, which one-of-one music NFTs are basically imagine if an artist came out with this like golden vinyl record to their fans and they said there's only one of these that exists in the world, and put it out, and basically they saw what happened with their fan base. It's sort of like, it's like imagine for other art forms, right? Like paintings, we've always had this way to like for people to speculate and collect this art. And you know, that has worked pretty well. It's not like like completely democratic or whatever. You still have to like connect with the people who own these exhibitions and everything. But at the end of the day, there's a lot more money in like collectibles and collectible art than there is in and ever was in music, right? So it's like, hey, the idea is, why don't we use this technology, which is NFTs, to basically make each digital file, make a one-of-one version of this digital file, right, that only one person can own. And I can also dive into like how NFTs work, like actually like the technology of it and everything.
Yeah, that'd be absolutely great. So what you're saying is you did a really nice job of outlining some of the injustices. You said that despite the changes in medium, well, put it this way, with the changes in medium, obviously the size of the industry grew, peaking, as you said, just before people were able to copy digital recordings onto a digital physical format, right? So the same time that commercial CDs come out, blank CDs come out, and people start to listen to music on their computer. So Web3 is a solution to the historical problems that you outlined so nicely. And you're suggesting that if you have no experience of this, the best approach would be to make one NFT, which only
Yeah.
has one copy.
Yeah, and there's a few different places to do that.
That's perfect. So yeah, let's presume we'll start from the
let's-
absolute beginning. And so let's presume that somebody wants to know how to make an NFT. What would be the best place to go? And then how would they promote that?
Sure. So you can see over here, we have these one-of-one marketplaces outlined. I used to work at one of these companies catalog. But basically just not to be a shill, like I would recommend so there's this marketplace protocol called Zoro. Zoro is pretty popular in music, and the way you would go about it is you go to Zoro.co and you click this create button at the top here.
This is great because our guest yesterday actually recommended Zoro as well. So perfect. Yeah, please keep going.
All right, perfect. So yeah, you click this create button at the top. You connect your wallet, which I'm assuming that maybe you don't know what a wallet is.
Yeah, let's say some people have no idea what a wallet is. That's great.
Okay, cool. So honestly, like, why don't we just do a live demo of me being a Web3 noob and trying to use this?
That sounds really cool.
All right, guys. All right, basically, we're on Zoro. We're gonna create music NFT. If anyone has a song that they can actually, if it's online or something, and I can take it. We'll actually mint it. Like, okay. So yeah, basically create MetaMask. Oh, like actually, let me not click on this. Let's say you don't have one. What is MetaMask? So basically a wallet, like we were talking about with Nate yesterday, is basically when we were talking about accounts in Ethereum, and using the analogy of accounts being, you know, a public address to your house and then the private key to like unlock your house. What a wallet is basically a keychain that's managing all your accounts. So you don't have to like constantly be remembering your private key, but instead you can just remember your wallet password, and that gives you access and remembers all your private keys. So that's all a wallet is. And this is your main way of, you know, interacting with like the Web3 world, because you own custody of your assets. And so anytime a platform that you're using wants to use those assets, you have to sign and give it permission. And anytime you change the state of the blockchain, your account matters and is at play, right? And so it has to be recorded that you're changing the state of a blockchain. And so, yeah, basically, let's get a wallet. We'll go ahead and we'll just get a MetaMask wallet, which you can get the app or you can add it to Chrome. I basically already have it, so I'll just remove it.
So basically it's where you hold your funds, right?
Yeah, it's where you hold your funds and tokens. So even NFTs.
And then really quickly, to make an analogy and a connection to Monday, to when we spoke last. So wallets are the ways in which people who are interested in transacting will interact with one another and exchange funds. And so you might have peer-to-peer transactions where, let's say I might want to send something through, I might want to send an NFT or some tokens to Mo. And if so, I will find his public, I'll find his public key, like his address, and then I will use that to direct the funds that way. On the other side, as we mentioned, that we have miners who in Bitcoin are the ones to facilitate the entire blockchain transaction processes. Wallets and wallet users do not maintain a full copy of kind of like the blockchain ledger or the state on their device. These are kind of like the smallest, most portable versions of people who interact with the blockchain network. And that's why they tend to be so quick in comparison to maybe other scenarios where we might have like larger amounts of data that we need to transfer.
Yeah. So, okay, just continuing this process so we can get into the technology and actually talk about how it works. And this is basically adding the MetaMask extension to Chrome. So if you don't know what a browser extension is, it's a thing that you can add to your browser that basically upgrades its capabilities that you can use wherever your browser has this like little sidebar. So here's all my extensions. And yeah, so once you install MetaMask, it'll prompt you this, which is let's get started. And you can create a new wallet, agree with your conditions, and we'll create a new password. Like honestly, we could just have this be the class wallet. If we want. Actually, maybe not, just because like we might need some Ethereum funds in here. So, anyways, new password. Don't worry about it. I know this password. I'm not going to tell you.
So just people understand, MetaMask is free, but it becomes a place where you can buy Ethereum, for example, using fiat currency, using regular cash.
Yeah. So now it's going to give me this entire video.
MetaMask is a new way to connect to sites and applications. On traditional websites, a central database or bank is responsible for controlling and recovering your accounts. But on MetaMask, all of the power belongs to the holder of a master key. Whoever holds the key controls the accounts. Your secret recovery phrase is your master key. It's a series of 12 words that are generated when you first set up MetaMask, which allow you to recover your wallet and funds if you ever lose access. It's important that you secure your wallet by keeping your secret recovery phrase very safe and very secret. If anyone gets access to it, they will have the master key to your wallet and can freely access and take all of your funds. To secure your MetaMask wallet, you'll want to safely save your secret recovery phrase. You can write it down, hide it somewhere, put it in a safe deposit box, or use a secure password manager. Some users even engrave their phrase onto a metal plate. Nobody, not even the team at MetaMask, can help you recover your wallet if you lose your secret recovery phrase. If you haven't written down your secret recovery phrase and stored it somewhere safe, do it now. We'll wait. And remember, never share your secret recovery phrase with anyone, not even us. If anyone ever asks you for it, they're trying to scam you. That's it. Now you know what a secret recovery phrase is and how to keep your wallet safe and secure.
Yeah. So I hope you guys got a lot of that, because probably a lot tighter of an explanation that I think I can produce right now. So pretty much yeah, we're gonna secure our wallet. It's gonna show us your recovery phrase, and honestly, I don't really care about showing it. So okay, so don't actually show this to anyone. I'm showing like 300 people. Don't do that. This is gonna be your basically access, and if anyone has this, they can access all your funds. So I'm just gonna write this down somewhere. Cool.
And
so,
would you recommend, when somebody has created a private password, that they do not keep it on their computer, that they keep it somewhere else?
So there is several different ways to store your passwords, all of varying security. For me, I store it locally on my computer, just because I'm basically comfortable knowing that, like, if anyone has my computer, my password on my computer is strong enough for it to not be unlocked. Yeah, I would say just like be careful with keeping it online, because that's the most vulnerable. Yeah,
It's just a recommendation I often hear. Don't keep the private key online. Maybe write it down somewhere.
yeah, you basically write it down on a piece of paper. Is pretty safe. They also make these like metal capsule things where you can engrave your like private key into like metal, so it's a little bit more durable than paper. There's also like cold wallet storage options, so you can get a hardware wallet, so instead of ever interacting with the Chrome browser extension wallets, you can have like a physical wallet that uses your fingerprint or a PIN code or some other form to actually like access your funds. Like a lot of these different versions or different ways of storing have their own pros and cons. I think like how I think about it, and this is like just recommendations, like basically if anyone had access to an account that I'm storing, sorry, one of my bank accounts that I'm storing on 1Password, which holds all my funds, like all my money, they would be able to access that, right? So
Mhm.
at that point, if I'm trusting 1Password to hold my banking information, then I am comfortable trusting like 1Password or some other form of password management to hold like my private keys or wallet passwords.
So I wanted to take a step back really quickly as well and talk about different wallets. So I know Mo mentioned MetaMask, which is one of the benefits of it is it's very easy to use. It integrates well with different web browsers and can be quite simple and easy to track your wallets. We also have something, and so there are two types of wallets. There's something called a hot wallet, which is connected to the internet, something called a cold wallet. And so I have an example of one right here. So this is a Ledger wallet. And how this works is I'll open it up and show you right now. It has a USB connection that can be plugged into the computer. And so funds in here can only be accessed when it's plugged into to my computer. And so what this does is it ensures that if someone gets into my computer, they can't access my funds unless they have this physical device. And so so some people prefer a tangible hardware wallet like this. Others might want something that's easier to access online, like a MetaMask wallet or a Rainbow wallet.
Yeah. Cool. So I don't want to. I think we have time. We have an hour. So I do want to dive into the landscape too, but I'm going to try to breeze through this. So once you get your secret recovery phrase, you're just going to confirm that you actually stored it somewhere and can remember it. So I just have it here to the left.
So this is just a combination of random words, right? Just so people
Yeah.
understand. Yep.
Kind of like it's your recovery phrase, which means like it's like an easier thing to commit to memory that you can remember in case you lose access to your private key or like forget your private key.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. So cool. You've successfully protected wallet. Again, like we're pretty used to centralized organizations handling this like custody of our accounts for us. And so with that, there's some pros. It's like they can actually, if you lose your password, make you a new one and give you access back to your account, because your account really isn't yours. You're just using a service to manage your accounts, and you're basically saying, hey guys, I'm gonna sign this like contract off. I totally trust you and like handling all my funds, handling all my personal information, blah blah blah. I don't think you're actually gonna look at it, and if you do, like it's probably okay. Just like manage my stuff for me. So in this case, you're not doing that. You're saying, hey, I pledge all responsibility to managing all my funds, all my accounts, my personal like interactions, like with blockchain, all of that here. And I'm the manager of my accounts, and it's on me if I lose my private key and nobody else. So yeah, got it. Basically, yeah, it's saying to pin the extension. So if you go to your whatever browser you're using, if you go to your extensions tab and you click pin, you can have it so it's always up there, ready to use. And you can see when I click on it, right now we have this like random account that was created for us on Ethereum, and we have 0 ETH in the account. Cool. And basically you can import your accounts, and even here the option to connect your hardware wallet to put your accounts from a hardware wallet on there. Well, I'm gonna do.
If somebody wants to buy some Ethereum and use it for transactions, what would you suggest the best service is online?
So I'll go through a few. I honestly don't like saying like this is the best service. I think obviously the space is like continuing to like evolve. And there's just so many projects that are early on. I don't even think there's like an insanely good like on-ramp yet. Just because there's a lot of SEC scrutiny and so many laws that are basically preventing us from creating like good on ramps. So one on ramp that I can think of is MoonPay. So this company, what they're trying to do is literally making it easier to on ramp from whatever payment method you usually use in fiat currency to whatever token in crypto that you would want. The only problem with on ramps like this, and there's more, there's also like Transact, right? Fiat on ramp, off ramp. There's like Wire.
I use Gemini myself.
Yeah. So I'll get to that in a second. So Gemini is decentralized exchange. These are more like
Yep.
on ramps, which is like a little bit different. But like all of
True.
these, the problem with them is a lot of credit cards, debit cards, whatever, don't work just because of laws and regulations. So chances are, if you have like a common credit or debit card, it's probably not going to work here. Like I've tried all of mine. So now we can get into like decentralized exchanges. So that includes like Coinbase, which I'm sure you guys have heard of, Gemini. So all of these, I would say, are not like, so a lot of people initially, when you're like beginning to crypto, you're like, oh, the biggest blockchain companies are like Coinbase, Gemini, blah, blah, blah. But these companies are not like decentralized apps. These companies are purely basically traditional centralized applications. And all they're really doing is it's like blockchain as a service, basically. It's like, hey, we know blockchain is complicated. So you can just make a traditional account with us like you would on Facebook, Google, your bank, and we'll handle the blockchain stuff for you. Like basically Coinbase, Gemini, all these guys have this entire system, right, where they store all these different wallets on their database, and they're managing your wallets for you, right? And so you never even, like when you buy fiat on Coinbase, you're not really interacting with a wallet for yourself. And so if you wanted to buy crypto, you would go through like Coinbase or a decentralized exchange onboarding with a DEX that's legal in your country, and basically you would buy some sort of Ethereum, and then you would send it over to your wallet address here. And once you send it over your wallet, then you could basically use stuff on like use the apps. Cool. So over here on Zora, it's a pretty simple process to create an NFT. So wait, why does it? Sorry, let me refresh this. Okay. So you're gonna connect your wallet that we just created. Go ahead and connect it. So now we're connected. We're basically logged in to this. I can click create. And what I'm gonna click is a drop. So now it's asking me to upload some sort of file from my computer. I'm not even sure if I have a music file.
Does it have a list there of the file types that it accepts?
Yeah, it has, so it accepts MP3, MP4, JPEG, GIF, PNG, and SVG images for a total file size of under 1 gigabyte.
So this could be a wide range of digital work. We could be talking about making an NFT from a photograph. We could make it from a text, right?
Yeah. Let's just say like, so. I don't know. I need like an I need a MP3. So here's another problem with Web3 music, which I was gonna get into. There's no way to arbitrate copyrights, right? It's not like when you're using these platforms, they're just decentralized applications. Like they have no concern, right, with like copyrights, piracy, and they don't want to have concern because that's too much liability on one authority. And so basically anybody can come in like me and become Amy Winehouse on Web3. So let's do it. Like basically I can just come here and I can say, is this thing downloading?
I have an MP3 here. I can send it to you in Telegram.
Yeah, sure. I don't know. Wait to get download link.
I'm gonna send an MP3 to Nate. Hold on a second. Okay, just uploading. Okay, so Nate, I've sent you an MP3 and you
I'll-
guys can
I'll
use that
pass this. I'll
to,
pass this on.
yeah, you can experiment with that.
Great. And then while this is loading as well, let's see. I think there's just a few terms in there that not everyone might be familiar with. So Mo mentioned that the SEC, I talked about SEC regulation. And so the SEC is the Securities and Exchange Commission, which is what regulates everything in the United States and identifies what is essentially what asset class or what type of what type of asset or commodity something might be. And so they're the ones who have ultimate say over how like crypto might be taxed, either any kind of crypto native assets. And that also applies as well to stocks, bonds, fiat currencies, anything there as well.
Hey guys, I'm not getting this MP3 file that you sent over.
Here, yeah, just sent it on Telegram to you right now.
Well, if you're still waiting, Mo, just explain what exactly is inside an NFT.
Yeah, why don't we look at the contract itself? So here. Where it is. It's not what I'm looking for. Ah, perfect. This is exactly what I'm looking for. All right, so basically, this is what an NFT contract looks like. Let me see if I can. What is this? I'm just trying to find a simple way of showing you guys what's actually stored. Okay, this is basically what you guys care about. Cool. So, all right, here's like kind of an interface of ERC 721 metadata. You would have the kind of like name or title of like your NFT stored in the metadata. So you can see here title, whatever you want to call it. So this would maybe be your song name or like artist name, then song name. And then within that, you would have a symbol for your token. So this is just like, for example, a simple symbol for Ethereum, which is an ERC20 token, is ETH, ETH, right? So that's just basically your ticker symbol for like your token. And then, yeah, properties. So basically your token URI, what it's going to be is it's going to be a link to a decentralized storage solution or a storage solution of your choice. But honestly, so this is a good point. Like some people who've made NFTs have put the actual link to the content on a centralized database. And what that means is if they don't want to host that content anymore and you own the NFT, one day the content could just disappear and you could just be the owner of a token that points to a link that doesn't exist anymore. So like basically like what an NFT is, if you are looking at it from a purely like technical implementation standpoint, is hey, we are going to track who the owner of this like token is, and within that token there's a link to like some piece of content. And so what is like the solution to like this content going down is decentralized storage. And a decentralized storage solution is one of the most popular decentralized storage solutions called IPFS. And it stands for like interplanetary file system. What IPFS is it lets you upload files that are basically stored in a distributed network of nodes of computers, right? Which makes it so if one of the computers goes down, there's redundancy, right? And as long as the IPFS network is still up, your file will be up. So it's basically leveraging the same exact kind of like techniques and properties of what makes blockchain like Ethereum network like not have like permanency and not be able to go down, but to like store bigger files, you know, because it's really expensive to store like a huge file on Ethereum, right? And so, yeah, basically, make sure your NFT content is stored on IPFS so it's permanent. Cool. When you have a one-on-one NFT, your token supply for this ERC21 utility supply is going to be 1. And that basically just means that there's going to be one owner at a time for this. Cool. Yeah, I think it's also important to note that when you come out with an NFT collection that maybe has like 10,000 tokens, so a really popular one is going to be the Bored Ape Yacht Club, right? One of these, probably the stuff you see on the news. This has like a total supply of like 10,000 tokens. However, like each one of these tokens actually has the same contract. So this contract is right here, right? So all the tokens will have this same exact contract, but their token IDs will be different. And so this one contract is tracking different token IDs. And these different token IDs are linked to different pieces of content.
So just to paraphrase, would it be fair to say that the smart contract tells you first and foremost where the content is actually stored? It points to a place where the content is stored. It's not stored on one computer, it's stored on multiple, on a decentralized system somewhere. And it also contains all the legal information, right? Who made it, who owns it, plus all the financial events that happen when somebody interacts with it. So what happens when somebody buys it or transfers it?
Yeah, that's true. I would be careful when you say legal information. So basically, the reason I'm saying to be careful is because you're not actually storing like a legal name that was verified and with like know your customer requirements. You're more so just storing some wallet address. So that's like what identity is in this decentralized way. So yeah, so basically like in terms of legal, it might be pretty useless to have a wallet address to try to defend your rights if you don't know like who owns the wallet address and you can't prove who owns the wallet address. Yeah. Yeah, so okay, the other thing that's like super important about NFTs that makes them different from physical collectible items is this little thing that you see here called creator earnings. So there is a standard for basically royalty distribution on chain, and the standard is EIP 2981. So this standard is the NFT royalty standard, and it basically just gives developers these 2 functions that they can implement to make distributing royalties to the creator easier. What are royalties when it comes to NFTs? Very simple. Basically, imagine you come out with a one-of-one music record, right? And you're selling it for $20. Someone buys it for $20. You end up blowing up as an artist. 5 years down the line, that was your first record ever minted. There's, it's very well respected, it's classic, whatever. Next thing you know, there's a huge demand for it and it's selling for $100,000, right? So it grew from $20 to $100,000. Whoever owns it decides, damn, like $100,000, like I love you as an artist, but like, bro, like I want my $100,000. All right, that guy sells it. And basically, traditionally, in a physical item, if I had Daft Punk's or one of the Beatles like original limited records or whatever, and I sold it, I get all the upside, right, as the collector. And the Beatles, they're never gonna see that money or the upside of a collectible. The difference between in NFTs is we've created this royalty standard where on every secondary transaction, you can set a percentage of the transaction that you would want back. And this creates a system where perpetual collection of royalties is possible on these collectibles. And so as an artist, if your collectible went up in value and got resold for, again, the 100 grand on that transaction, you would be paid out if you set your royalties to 10%, for example, you would be paid out 10% of a transaction.
So every time the digital asset is resold, the original creator continues to get money, right? What do you think? What's the normal percentage that people? What's the range of percentages that people build into the smart contract to make sure they get paid for future sales?
Yeah, so like so far, I'd say a pretty normal percent has been like 2.5 to 15%. However, like I'm very careful using the word normal, right? This space again is like so early that like every rule is being defined. And honestly, the whole ethos of a space is basically empowering you as a creator to make your own set of rules, right? And so when I was working on music, one of the things we wanted to do was, why should we decide like what percentage of royalties a creator should keep? Let them set their own contract, their own deal, which is incredibly empowering in an industry where like traditionally you've never gotten control of that. But also, I've had this like idea. It's like to throw out there. It's like, what if you had a DAO, which we'll talk about later, but what if you had a collective group of individuals who all care about, the basically Web3 music industry, all be able to just vote on like what a creator royalty would be, right? And then we just have that decide and be variable. And yeah, but that's just like an idea. But yeah.
So what you're saying is you don't yet see in the United States a large voluntary organization that is beginning to set national rules, that this is still very much open and well, the Wild West, to use a historical term.
Yeah, I would say the whole point is it should remain open like this and permissionless. Like the whole point of this is no matter what, like the whole point is like you can't set rules. It's like trying to say, hey guys, like I think it's only fair that the United States gets a 2.5% cut on every Bitcoin transaction. It's like great that you think that, like really great, but that's not what the code that was written like in 2008 says, right? And so because that code is permanent and basically everyone who's running the network has to come into consensus about changing it, it doesn't matter what your opinion is. Like it does not matter what you legally think, what your president thinks, right? It's like at the end of the day, the entire network of people using the network have to agree to change something on the network. And so this creates like the system where things are like permissionless, right? Where like basically everything's open and hey, you as a creator, you want 80% cut? Sure, you can program that in. Am I saying that's a good business decision? Maybe not. Like maybe not. Maybe people are not gonna want to like buy a record if they know every time they sell it, they can't get any upside. But it's up to you, right? And that's like the cool thing.
Somebody had an interesting question here. They said you're suggesting a great way to experiment is to make one NFT and just one copy of that NFT. So it's unique.
Yeah.
What if somebody then purchases it from you, but then decides to just hide it or they lose it? Have you lost the ability to promote that song?
No. So great question. Let me show you guys a one of one NFT marketplace called Catalog. Basically on Catalog, you have all these records, right, that are curated by the Catalog team, and all of these records are one of one NFTs on Zora. And yeah, so let me show you actually. So this is the one of my friends, that's an artist that I manage, and we ran an experiment, right? We were like, hey, like, what if we just put up a one-on-one NFT of your stuff and we see what happens? So he put up a one-on-one NFT of his most popular song in Spotify, right? It's called Falling Off. It's actually really funny. This artist was also part of blockchain at Berkeley at one point. So it was pretty like cool. So let's go to his artist profile. You see that Falling Off is one of his most popular songs, right? So we put this up, and within like a month, some guy bought it for 0.15 ETH, right? And you can see here, this guy still owns it. His name is Broke Investor. And Shaq is going to take a 10% fee or a creator share on every like future transaction. So what I'm trying to say, so basically, if you wanted to get a one-on-one on catalog, you can't do that today, right? Because what you would have to do is you would have to go through an artist application, and the catalog team would have to approve you to upload, which is why it's not like the recommended like first place to start, right? I would say like going to an open marketplace or open marketplace protocol like Zora, where you can permissionlessly upload these tokens, is probably a great place to start, right? Because you don't need anyone's permission to upload your token. So whole point, I think my recommendation, like create a one-of-one drop on Zora or on OpenSea, right? And basically put it out to whatever your socials are, or even just tell your friends about it. And if anyone you know is like interested in learning what an NFT is, or like into crypto, or just supporting you as an artist, and they don't mind getting through the barriers of onboarding, basically, then they basically can buy your token. And the reason one-on-ones are so cool is because it's just the coolest thing as a collector. It's like no one else owns this, right? It's like so personal. It's like I am the owner of this record. But yeah.
So once you've made and published it, how would you suggest promoting it?
The main way to promote it really is like on that I've seen is on Twitter, right?
So you're using traditional social media to advertise this new form of artistic expression,
Yeah.
this new technology. Yeah.
Which honestly I want to get into. Like this is what I was gonna get into on the next lecture, right? Was like just diving deep into music NFTs, what they really are today, the different
No,
types.
this is fantastic, because there are going to be so many questions. Can I ask you two more? I
Yeah.
have two audience questions. What if somebody, you've made the NFT, somebody plays it, but then they rip the audio, so they're able to steal the audio signal? What legal protection do you possibly have? Because the NFT is designed to give you more legal security, right? It guarantees your copyright, but then what if somebody steals the audio signal?
Got you. So really great question. And like it's a pretty common question as well. So I want to go to Zora Marketplace just to demonstrate some concepts. So it's like cool. So the whole point or ethos of these digital collectibles is like, hey, as you can see even with collectible art, it's like everybody knows what the Mona Lisa looks like. Like everybody can see it, everybody can view it, right? And it doesn't matter if I woke up one day and I was like, hey, dude, like I actually went to a museum and I took a picture of a Mona Lisa and now I'm selling it. Like, bro, I'm selling you the Mona Lisa. The reason it doesn't matter is because there's only one original authentic Mona Lisa. And the way we know it's original authentic is because it was probably verified by some authority somewhere or whatever. But the way you know an NFT is like authentic is actually still in some ways being discovered, right? Like we don't have like a centralized authority that we can trust on to be like, hey, this was the OG NFT. And I'll take a step back, right? for example, yes, like there is permanency in knowing, basically going and indexing through the blockchain and being like, hey, like this was the first time this file was uploaded and it was uploaded by this address. So it must be the original one. This must be a creator. The problem with that is, what if I get ahead of the curve and I'm like, all right, I know David's stuff is gonna pop off. So, and I know David maybe like doesn't know how to make an NFT yet. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna like download all of David's music and I'm gonna mint it before him. So the problem with that is, like, just because I was first does not mean that my record was authentic, right? So that issue still exists today. And there's an issue of copyright arbitration when it comes to this stuff. So how are we getting around that, right? There is a lot of stuff you can do with AI, blah, 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 right? That YouTube is doing with copyright arbitration, whatever. But really, I would say the real way to know if something's authentic is social consensus. It's like if I'm David, right? And I go and post on my Twitter, hey guys, just minted my first NFT, or just minted this like record
Просто
NFT.
по Твиттеру это сделать, и оно по этому адресу, вот эту ссылку используйте. Теперь
NFT was the one that he put, because why would he put an unauthentic NFT on his page, right?
What
So-
about the counter argument that for years, well, basically almost for 40 years now, since it was possible to rip audio and record it on a blank CD, which was what, the mid-90s? So yeah, basically 40 years ago.
Yeah.
What about the fact that many people don't care whether it's original, they just want the file, or they want to be able to
yeah.
stream the music.
Okay.
So many people are happy with a pirated version. What about that?
Yeah. So sorry. I was just about to get into that. Just kind of longer-winded explanations, just because we didn't have like a formatted way to explain this background info. So
No,
kind
this is
of-
great. No, this is good. This is great.
Okay. So pretty much, yeah, who cares who owns it, right? I just want to listen to it. So basically, the whole point I'm trying to make here is like, anybody, when you upload a song NFT or a media NFT, whatever, everybody can view your art for free, and everybody can listen to your song for completely free, right? And like what the whole bet is like, you want your song to be pirated as many times as possible, right? Because the more people that listen to your song and the more attention you have on a record, the more valuable it will be to own that record, right? And so like, pretty much it's like saying, hey, piracy exists. It will exist forever. It existed on literally basically every medium of music, right? Like, let's just embrace it. People want free music. That is not the value prop that we're offering with a collectible. And this is one of the slides that I had right here, which is, if you go down, which is basically, and I'll make the point, is that, why is this not rendering?
Maybe it's a huge picture or something.
Yeah, I have no idea, but wait, what the
So what it sounds like is traditional.
is ownership? Let's finish the sentence. Sorry, access to music is not valuable. That is like, it sounds stupid. Like, it sounds like a bold take. It's like, who is this guy telling me access to music's not valuable? But like, really, all the data shows, like everything shows, all the numbers show access to music is not valuable. For example, right? Most of Spotify's listeners, most of the music listeners in the entire world are listening for free. They don't care, right? I'll listen to an ad. I'm getting free music, right? The reason people pay for Spotify is not to access the music. Access to music is free. You can access any song on the internet right now for completely free. Like, you guys can all put a song in chat and I can show you, I'll literally pull it up for free, right? That is not why I'm paying for Spotify. It's not why anyone pays for Spotify. They're paying for Spotify because it is the most flawless user experience for music playback, right? And they're paying for Spotify for the AI discovery features, the playlist features, the fact that I can access and store my music on literally every device I have in my house, right? That's why people pay $9.99 for Spotify. It's to get access to these features, without ads at least. And so it's like the whole point is, everyone should be able to listen to music for free. We should create a model, right, that captures the value from music for what makes music valuable, right? And so what the proposition is of this whole thing, this whole NFT thing, is that ownership is more valuable than access. And yeah, I can dive deeper, but I think it has something to say.
I've got another question here. If somebody has purchased a music NFT, what are the restrictions on its use in terms of public listening and so forth? So what about the licensing information that is included in the NFT?
Yeah, great question. So in terms of public listening, again, it's just freely accessible. You're basically signing a thing that says, hey, I agree for my song to be played for free, like on this platform at least. I think Alina has her hand raised.
Oh no, we're switching over translators for the last 30 minutes. So I just need to do that. So Nate, did you want to say something?
Oh, no, it's okay. I think Mo covered it. But I think
Good
that,
morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, 1 second.
All right.
Sorry, guys, just give me 1 second and I will change translators. Oh, actually, Nate, you have to do that because you are now
Okay.
host.
great. Can you remind me the name of the new translator?
Can you see
Elvira?
Elvira? She's in there.
Mhm.
Elvira's
EL.
iPhone. Great.
Yeah.
All right. Updated. All right, Elvira, I think you should be all set as a translator right now. How does that sound to everyone?
Can we get a thumbs up, Elvira? Maybe if you can say something, just count or sing a song.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, if you can.
If you can hear Elvira, could somebody just give us a thumbs up?
All right. You have 1 thumbs up, 2 thumbs up.
Oh, great, we're good.
Great.
Okay, well then, that's great. All right, so we're back to normal.
Awesome. So yeah, I think I just like an important note to say is like, hey, like right now we're trying to discover the next medium shift in music. Basically the first experiment we're having is like one-of-one digital collectibles in the way that we're doing them now. Am I saying this is going to be the next medium? Like, not really. What I'm trying to say is like, this is the first trial of maybe a new way to value music, right? And it's not completely apparent to me that this way doesn't have its own flaws and limitations, right? But what is apparent is that I think this this new way of doing music, which is like, hey, I'm gonna collect like this trading card of this song and that trading card of this other song, has more potential to capture the value that artists create, right? And yeah, and just to throw it out there, the global collectibles industry is an insanely big industry, right? It's worth $412 billion. There's a clear demand for collectibles, whereas the global recorded music industry, it is actually relatively, compared to other industries, pretty small. And there is a reason for that, right? The reason is anyone who steps into the recorded music industry is met by basically the truth that you don't belong here, because the big three are the people who basically control and have monopolized the recorded music industry, right? Obviously there's like some good that record labels do, like clearly, right? But the bad is that right now with the internet and with music discovery being so accessible through TikTok, social media platforms, as well as Spotify, you basically have a lot of artists that are growingly independent, right? And the issue for them is the deals that they can sign with record labels are lopsided and unfair. But if they don't want to sign a deal, the best platforms they have are the streaming platforms, Spotify, etc., which have been founded in good faith with good intention. However, for Spotify to get a library of the world's music of 100 million songs, they had to give up 20% of their company to record labels, right? Because record labels own all of the world's music. And so what this created was this kind of tension, right? This incentive misalignment where it's just like, hey, I'm Spotify. I want to like recommend people the music that they would listen to from literally any artist. And then one of my shareholders who owns a fifth of my company saying, hey, dude, I own this library of music. You need to promote my library of music, right? And if you don't, one, I own 20% of the company and voting power. Two, like I'll take off like Drake's music, or like I'll take off his big artists, right? Like you have this like leverage in this situation. And so Spotify, with every new feature that comes out, has been kind of met by this tension. And like, for example, their Discovery AI playlist, right? Like Discover Weekly is basically a great example of like how this incentive alignments creates like an unfair kind of music industry. It's like, hey, let's come out with this AI democratized playlist that's supposed to be different on everyone's feed. But then it's just like, oh, wait, I'm a record label, promote my music on this AI playlist, and I want the direct access to the data on this playlist, right? Because I straight up own a fifth year company. So what is the whole point?
Sorry to interrupt just for a second. Elvira, there's just a request if you can make yourself a little bit louder. If you can, that'd be great. Sorry, yeah, Mo, back to you.
Yeah, and so the whole point of this that I'm trying to make is like the system we had before. The reason blockchain has great potential in this industry is because the system we had before is very reliant and dependent on record labels being the central controlling authority of music distribution, royalty distribution, all these types of things, right? But and honestly, on this chart that I just pulled up on my screen on how royalty is distributed, you can see that there's just an insane amount of organizations an artist has to register to like collect their payment from revenue they made, even if they're independent, even if you're not even associated with a label, you have to follow basically this like system that they've created, which is so convoluted, and it is such a separation between when the fan pays you to get access to your music and when you get that money. And what blockchain has potential to do is saying, hey, instead of, you know, a system that costs you like 85% of your revenue, or even more, 90.1% of your revenue in this industry, why don't we replace all these guys with code, right? Because we have the technology to do so. And instead of having it be like fan pays, it goes through this insane pipeline of all these organizations, and then it gets to fan. Why don't we say, fuck it? Why isn't it just artist to fan, right? Excuse my language.
Okay. That's okay. It's too late now.
Yeah, but basically, replace all these people with code. Yeah, this code too is not governed or controlled by any single authority, but rather a network of people who potentially are all independent artists, managers, fans, people that are enthused by the industry, like even people who now can start their own record labels. Like with this system, it's like I have a way now to be like, I'm Mo, I think I have great music taste and I want to start a music label, right? And there's nothing keeping me from doing that. I can just go out into this world, put in my money, collect a bunch of music NFTs, buy these like a percentage of these artists like royalty streams, right? And I know that airtight royalty distribution on chain is gonna pay me out my percentage like easily.
So
So
this is a question that came up twice yesterday. What do you think is the future of record labels? Do we even need them anymore?
yeah, I think the future of record labels is very similar to the current state of investing in stocks and digital assets. So what does that mean? Look, before we had Robinhood, right? Investing in stocks was really only accessible to people that hold more than $25,000 in their bank account that were able to open a stock investing account with a major bank, right? And right now, like investing in music really is only available to someone who also has a grand sum of money and connections to a record label that exists today, right? However, when Robinhood came out, it made it so anybody can buy a percentage of any company, any stock for as little as $1. And I think the future of music investing is very similar, right? Anybody should be able to invest in music rights with as little as $1, right? From from their pockets or like at their fingertips, right? It just makes sense. So the future is just like basically opening up the access to this. And what happens when we open up access to retail investors? There's just a ton more volume, right? That gets created, right? And yeah. So that's what I think the future of music investing is.
Great. A couple more questions. Once a file has been uploaded as an NFT, can you re-upload it onto other platforms that have different licensing agreements, for example, Creative Commons?
Yeah. So far right now, every NFT, like music NFT project, is also uploading their songs to Spotify. And so they're still getting paid streaming royalties on Spotify. The agreement is like when you are minting an NFT on some platform, you're basically agreeing that like that platform has the right to stream your music for completely free. But yeah, nothing really changes in the traditional world.
So you've spoken about investing. So you can imagine a situation where someone creates an NFT, they simultaneously upload the music to Spotify. Spotify is a way not to earn money, but to gain popularity. And then the popularity is reflected in the increased value of the NFT.
Right. Yeah.
Another question. Does the owner of a music NFT get anything in material benefit other than the opportunity to resell it at a higher price?
Okay, so what that's called is like utility, and pretty much not every NFT comes with utility baked in. And so pretty much the whole point of this is like the real value is in the ownership of a recorded record, right? And so it's like you can add these utilities or whatever, right? But at the end of the day, it's like no one needs like exclusive access to some concert, right? To understand the value of like owning the Mona Lisa or something like that, or owning some piece of art that of some artist they like for like $100. And so like the whole ethos or philosophy is like the value should be in the recorded music itself, not like the utilities. And so it's like, but yeah, there are projects that are focused on providing like an exclusive membership, like access to people who own like these tokens.
Another question. How about uploading music if it's already posted on Spotify? So in other words, the creation of an NFT from something that is already on Spotify. So in other words, are there any problems there with license agreements or legality?
I would say no, there isn't, unless you are signed to some sort of publishing company's sort of label, right? Then you have to basically, if you don't own 100% of the rights to your music, you're gonna have to talk with anybody else who owns like rights for them to have a say on whether you can post your music in this new format. And the reason is anytime you use the recording, you have to abide by like all the rights that you've signed. So it's like, because you're not the only one who owns the recording technically. So yeah, basically when you upload this stuff, you want to make sure that like maybe you convince or pitch your manager or whoever else owns rights that like this might be a great way to monetize on your music, and then
Mhm.
share a split with them on the NFT sales.
Yep.
Yeah.
How does this new system of royalty distribution, how does the automatic distribution of royalties inside the NFT, how does that deal with governmental red tape all over the world?
But so by governmental red tape, do you mean just like paying people out in crypto, or do you mean more so like rights management?
Yeah, I think the question is from somebody who is used to, well, you showed the very complex diagram of royalty payments, right? The tree diagram that explained how slow and bureaucratic payments are. That gets even worse when you add different countries, right? So if you add different, I don't know, getting royalties from fans in China is going to be a totally different situation from getting them in Peru. But could you just explain how the NFT, how the smart contract makes that, how it removes all of that, how it makes everything a lot simpler?
Yeah. So it's like it's very similar to the way, like an analogy you can use here is in traditional banking. If I wanted to transfer my US dollar to someone, to that money to like someone in China, I would have to go through a lot of bureaucratic organizations, a lot of banks, right? And like facilitating that. And they basically could allow me permission to do that, or they could say, hey, we think, you're fraudulent. No, we're not going to let you use our service. What Bitcoin helps solve, what cryptocurrency helps solve is, hey, we have this network up. It's basically code that facilitates the transfer of these limited assets, limited supply of these assets. You're not going to be asking anyone for permission to like transfer this. And it's just like, you're basically saying, just like we explained Bitcoin yesterday, you're just transferring value between one peer to another peer, or yourself and another person, trustlessly and permissionlessly. And so in the same way, over here, we have also built code that is automatically transferring the value, like giving one person the token and giving the other person the amount of money that they bought that token with. And so pretty much, instead of how does royalty distribution work? Well, instead of all of these organizations, what we really have is you just list the wallet addresses of everyone who owns rights to your music, right? And every time your music is bought or sold, or your NFT is bought or sold, it will automatically split up those payments between those wallet addresses. And there's also a really cool technology that's already built today called 0x splits, which is pretty much allowing you to create one wallet address that links to a contract. And then that contract is mutable, which means you can add wallet addresses later. So basically, if you wanted to allow a good use case, like I want my fans to be able to own some of the rights to my music, cool. Well, you can use this technology to also change like who owns the rights to your music over time. So yeah.
What do you think will happen then with rights management organizations?
I think if this system was adopted, like there basically exists no need for rights management organizations other than arbitration. So basically copyright arbitration, people who can now build their own software which indexes the data on the blockchain to basically help them make decisions on like legal lawsuits and all of that and the misuse of music, and enforce it. And yeah, but like I said, the only way to do that would be to abide by know your customer requirements. And that just means linking your wallet address to a physical identity somewhere, and then having government be able to enforce those laws. However, like basically that's pretty powerless in this space. And so I would say the best thing you can do to protect your rights is to be loud about, hey, this is my NFT. Like this is like the original one. This is the only address you should be buying. Getting social consensus of your fan base and everything. What is authentic, what you own is the most important thing, because as soon as I know that that's the authentic one, everything else just has no value to it, right? So I don't care if it's someone else is uploading stuff. We just know that that's not the original.
Great. So we've got 10 minutes left. So I suggest two things. One, I have one more question. And the other one is maybe you guys could say something about the final project, the little presentation. So if you can do this in 5 minutes, this would be fantastic. We kind of stopped explaining what you do with the NFT. So when you upload, do you just want to, do you have an NFT to experiment with? If not, we can just transfer that to next time. Should we do that? Do you want to just start with that next time?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I was gonna mint an NFT, but I'm kind of unprepared. To like have
That's
a file
okay.
and everything.
That's
So
okay.
yeah, but basically you would mint the NFT and it would be up on a marketplace, and technically anybody could buy it. That's it.
And that's what we'll do. And next time we'll show you exactly what to do with an NFT.
Yeah, and
Fantastic.
I think next lecture, I can do a basically run. This post's not loading. Run through what technologies currently exist in Web3 and music, and just explain like what each thing does and what you guys can leverage today if you wanted to like get into this, and then also the problems that exist with all of these platforms, and maybe if you're a builder, what the problems that you can solve and you can build.
That'd be beautiful. Okay, so what people have been asking about the final project. So you guys are going to put people into groups according to their ability, and then what happens?
Great. I can talk about that right now if Mo, if you wouldn't mind unsharing your
Yeah,
screen.
I'll pull up a slide.
I have everything right here. If you can unshare, I can. Oh, you have a slide on it? Great.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah, you can. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, of course. So let me just adjust the view. Great. So for starters, we have so there are two components of the final project. The first will be done before the last class, which will be a week from Friday. And so this is just an overview of a business idea. And so we'll talk through what this can look like a little more, but essentially it is something that, I mean, after, and this will make a lot more sense after Mo talks about some more of the other industry tools that are available. But right now there are a ton of projects out there and a lot of opportunity in the space for projects that give musicians and artists more agency and control over their kind of their royalties and their funds and their music itself. And so what we would like is to see any ideas that you might have and be able and learn through this process how to develop a business plan, develop a project, and from there be able to pitch it to us. And we're still finalizing this, but we might have someone from the kind of venture capital space come in to hear some of these presentations as well. So we have someone named Grenor who works with the Berkeley Blockchain Accelerator, who will be able to come in and then provide direct feedback on your business proposals. So the first part is a written summary. So it is an overview of your project, which it will be 3 to 5 pages. And we won't be too strict about the page length. It's more so being able to explain the whole idea that you have and dive into these components that can help us to really understand what your idea may be. And by being able to explain this well, you'll also develop a very robust understanding of what your project will do, the value proposition or value add that comes from it, and then how it could be implemented and integrated in practice. So with that, Mo, I also have the group assignments. So I have group assignments here. I can send them to, I guess we'll send them to the Telegram group. or maybe David can do that. I'm going to screen share real quick though.
Yeah, anything you want to share, I can also publish on Telegram, or you can do it. So.
Great. Well, once again, I'll reattach this link later, but this is the syllabus here which has some more of the details in Russian, and then I've made the groups right here and split them all up. So there is one group of 3, but if we have anyone that joins last minute, then we'll add them to this group.
Who produced that Russian text? Was that me? I don't remember.
This is you. Yes, this is definitely not me.
I don't even remember. Okay.
But I'll also attach this so that hopefully this has some more. I mean, this is easier to understand for everyone.
Yeah, that'd
So
be yeah.
I'll send these
Just
two links.
old age. I don't remember.
Yeah. Great, but then I guess, does anyone else have any other questions? I mean, what I'll do is when we send this out, I'm hoping that everyone will start to reach out to their groups and start to brainstorm some ideas. And then hopefully we'll have some questions at the beginning of next class as well. So we'll have time if there are any questions that come up about the project.
I've got one simple question that is probably going to be asked is, how big are the groups, and are these also presented verbally?
The groups are groups of 4.
Okay.
And so these were the groups, and each group of 4 will work on both the project, on the written proposal, and then the 60-second elevator pitch.
60 seconds. I forgot about that. That's great. Yeah.
So it would make, I think it would make the most sense to have 1 to 2 people in each group present. Probably 1 would be easiest because it is so quick of it is such a short time frame. It's easiest to have 1 person do this.
No, I agree. Yeah. 4 people with 15 seconds each is a bit chaotic. So.
Yeah.
So are you going to, maybe one last question, are you going to combine experts with newcomers, or you'll have groups of newcomers and groups of experts?
Right. So I've integrated the groups to have people with a combination of programming experience and blockchain experience as like with those who do not have any.
Great.
So the group, kind of the distribution varies a little bit because we have various groups, but most of the people, most of the students in this class don't have that much programming experience, which is great though, because Mo will get into what like some technical components that we can teach you and we can build out pretty easily on our own.
Already we have one question, so I'm just going to use the remaining 3 minutes. What's the main task for the project? Is it to popularize an NFT, or to earn money, or to respond to the needs of musicians?
So it's to think about the ways that, so it's to reflect on the ways that the music industry runs already, and then finding ways to create like and build out your own startup or product idea. So
it's to imagine a startup, like a new label, that kind of thing.
Exactly. And we can give some examples next class. I'm not sure if Mo, do you have anything else you want to add on to that?
For the project.
Yeah.
Basically it's how I like thinking about this is next lecture, we're gonna dive deep into like what currently exists in the music Web3 landscape, what innovations are being made, what people are trying. And I think what this class should do is really take this information that we've given you and basically be like, hey, what do I think is an important problem in a space that I can solve that will push this space forward, right? And what you're basically doing is you don't even have to build the idea, right? But it's like you're trying to it's like a problem discovery thing, right? Discover this problem and you tell us about it and you tell us, hey, this is the potential solution. This is what we should explore. And that's it.
I know a few people have things they've already made. That's okay, right? If the group agrees to maybe promote or improve an existing Web3 project, that's okay. It doesn't have to be something created from zero this week.
Of course.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the idea too, to be able to back a tangible and viable use case, because a lot of the time the blockchain industry gets a lot of criticism and skepticism. And so finding a way to support an idea that you believe in is what we're hoping that everyone will be able to do throughout this process.
Exactly. I mean, just as somebody, I mean, just because it's my job, when anybody creates a research project, the first thing you should do is find a problem. So you're not just describing something, but you find a problem, and then you want to say what the solution might be, but also why it needs to be solved.
Yeah.
And I think if you keep those three things in mind, what is the problem? Why does it need to be solved, and how am I going to solve it? Then that becomes much easier to produce the what should we call it? The paper.
Yeah.
Is it possible to explain the technical issue, but just in text? So in other words, can you describe what you're doing as opposed to, no one's writing code, right?
Exactly. It can be fully in any format possible. If you want to include code, go for it. But we were expecting it to be in words, fully written, and just describing the problem.
Exactly. So we're describing something, we're not actually building it.
Hmm.
Okay. Well, listen, there will be many more questions, and I'll collect them, and I'll synthesize them and distill them. And then maybe we can just start with 5 minutes next time and just do that.
All right, that sounds good. And we will send out the groups in a few moments via Telegram.
Yep.
That's fantastic. And just for those people who came late, do they need to be reminded about the sign-up sheet?
Yes, that would be a good call. So if anyone here is interested in receiving the certificate and wants to participate in the group project, then please fill out the Google form that was just sent in the Telegram group. I'll send that one more time as a reminder.
So this, for those people who joined us a bit later, this takes how long? 60 seconds to complete each time?
Yeah. Or less. Yeah.
Or less. Okay.
Yeah.
Cut and paste, cut and paste.
Exactly. Okay. So
Okay.
Okay, great. Well, I will send this, and then
Mo, you've been great.
Thank you.
I shocked you with an unexpected question and answer session, but you've been amazing.
Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, totally spontaneous change of lecture plans.
Exactly. No, you've been very flexible, and you've been a real hero.
Thanks.
Okay.
right.
See you later.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Bye.
Guys.